connected, both inside and outside your company, with communication software that makes work, planning, and collaborative innovation easier. Here is one of Microsoft's recent slogans. This slogan implies that implementing technology will have a direct impact not only on the dissemination of information, but also on work organization and organizational structure. By implementing this technology, naturally, the organization and structure of the company will change. This is what is known as the perspective of technological determinism in information systems management. The work of John Woodward in 1965, inspired by contingency theories, particularly opened up a field of research on this subject. According to the work of John Woodward, the implementation of a technology clearly impacts the organization. She shows that certain types of technologies dictate the structures of the organization. According to her, the similarities in production systems, that is, the technologies used by the company, explain the similarities in the organization of companies. This line of research was very successful in the 1970s and 1980s among researchers in information systems management. A great many researchers then began to analyze the impact of information technologies on organizational design, particularly on the administrative part of the organization. For example, Whistler in 1970 believed that information technologies would lead to a consolidation of organizational departments and a reduction in their number associated with a decrease in hierarchical levels, as well as a reduction in the span of control. However, this body of work would soon be challenged. It will become apparent that technology certainly has an effect on the organization and its structure, but it is also part of a set of practices, interactions, and power dynamics that make it difficult to identify an immediate link between the implementation of technology and the evolution of organizational structures. In practical terms, just because a company introduces an internal social network doesn't mean that employees will automatically start working in a more cross-functional way. To achieve this, the entire management system would need to be rethought, for example, by ensuring that employees are no longer evaluated solely within their own business unit, but also based on their cross-functional contributions to the company's development. Technology can certainly help with organizational transformations, but implementing collaborative technology, for example, does not necessarily lead to the development of a collaborative organization. Yet, this perspective of technological determinism still remains very influential within companies. Driven by an engineering and solutionist view of organizational problems, it often leads companies to implement technology as the sole lever for transforming an organization. This explains the numerous failures in implementing technologies within companies. Nevertheless, it can be said that the deterministic perspective on technologies has had a beneficial effect on understanding the impact of technologies on organizations. It opened up an entire field of research that made it possible to understand that the introduction of technologies in companies was not neutral and had effects both on the flow of information and on the organization and its structure.